George Lucas to me was like kind of an inspiration, like my filmmaking guru. And during the making of Blair Witch, just knowing the way he dealt with Hollywood and kind of show me that no matter how many people doubt you, if you believe in it, if there's a fire in you, you have to keep going.
Every day
When I was really little, Empire Strikes Back.
I will say that Star Wars is my favorite.
Yeah, I saw the X-Wings flying.
Everyone has a Star Wars story. I'm Jordan Hembrow, and I'm meeting Star Wars fans virtually who have been inspired and changed by the galaxy far, far away. Today, I'm having a chat with Ed of Urbana, Maryland. One of the creators of the Blair Witch Project, Ed has been inspired by Star Wars throughout his life. From gaining a greater sense of community as a child to his rebellious DIY spirit as a filmmaker today. This is Ed's Star Wars story. Ed, thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm really excited.
All right, tell me about your childhood, because I know you lived like sort of all over the world. You were in different countries traveling, weren't you?
Yeah, we left Cuba when I was about 2 years old, and then I ended up in Spain, and then we moved to New York when I was 5, and then we ended up in DC a little bit later, like probably when I was 6.
So you really moved around a lot when you were a kid. Why all the moving?
Well, I mean, we were basically trying to escape Cuba. My parents knew that the Castro regime was kind of heading in the wrong direction. They didn't want to raise their kids there. So it happened to be that I was about 2 years old when they got permission and we headed off to Spain. And we went to Spain because my aunt had made it to Spain, and then she was the one that sent the papers to get us out of Cuba. And then in Spain, we stayed there for a few years, and then my dad got a job offer in the US, and he was like, yeah, let's go to the US, and kind of we've been here ever since. But the language thing for me was kind of my first kind of problem. I felt like I was not part of the American community, like of the kids. But that all changed when Star Wars came along. I kind of became a fan even before I saw the movie, just with the TV coverage and the commercials and all that stuff after the first time I saw it. It completely changed my life.
Did Star Wars actually help you connect with friends growing up?
Yeah, that was the big thing that Star Wars did for me, is that I always felt that I was a little bit kind of, like culturally, uneducated as far as like, I hadn't grown up in the United States. And Star Wars for me gave me something like, okay, I can become an expert at this thing. There was a friend of mine named Albert who I met because of Star Wars, and he became my best buddy. It's definitely something that I've always found throughout my entire life, that it brings people together.
So Ed, as a child, you moved around a lot. Did you actually identify with any Star Wars themes or characters in particular?
I mean, who didn't feel for Luke, that shot with the twin sunset? I just related to him trying to get out of this place he was in. And for me, it was mostly just trying to fit into this new country that I was in.
Where are you going?
I'm going nowhere.
Did Star Wars set you on the path to filmmaking in any way?
Yeah, Star Wars ignited something in me that's still kind of burning inside me for filmmaking. It got me into, John Williams and, other composers. Any kind of article or book about special effects or filmmaking in general, I bought and I pretty much devoured. It definitely kind of triggered the filmmaking bug in me for sure.
Now, your big breakout film that everyone knows you for is the Blair Witch Project. How old were you when you did that?
I was 28 years old when we shot Blair Witch, and then 30 when it came out.
I like to call that this DIY classic. And in a way, you were a lot like George Lucas. Was he an inspiration to you when it came to making your film?
Absolutely, because he was this guy who kind of risked it all to make this, movie that a lot of people didn't really believe in. To me, it was just kind of the importance of just taking risk. But also I think because George has like this independent spirit. And then, you find out all the stuff that he went through earlier in his life, and then the difficulties making Star Wars, and the fact that people didn't believe in it, and they were like, what is this? And a lot of things in Blair Witch, were the same way. I mean, there was a lot of people that were into it and they loved the idea, but it was generally, people didn't understand it. For me, like, there's this kinship with George, like he's kind of like my filmmaking father, my filmmaking guru. And during the making of Blair Witch, just knowing George's experiences and the way he dealt with Hollywood, and kind of show me that, you have to kind of keep pushing. No matter how many people doubt you, if you believe in it, if there's a fire in you, you have to keep going. And I think so many times during Blair Witch, that kind of spirit was the only thing we had going for us.
Did you ever get off the set at night and go, oh man, I wonder if George Lucas had to go through this?
It was weird because one time we were walking out of the woods, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we had just scared the filmmakers and we had left them some stuff. We're walking, we're like, We're like in the middle of the woods doing this $12,000 movie or whatever, but we're doing something that Spielberg and Lucas could never do. We had never heard of anybody making a film like we made Blair Witch. It was this cool moment where we're like, you know, we have nothing, but we're doing something really unique and something that no matter how much money you have, there's very few people that would be doing what we're doing right now, you know? I would have loved to have brought George out there and like showed him what we were doing.
So really what I loved about Blair Witch as well is you really relied on this sort of word of mouth grassroots marketing to promote the film.
Yeah, we built this website and people just started kind of, you know, coming to it, and we had no money for advertising or any kind of marketing, but we started getting this following, and in the mid-90s, I had gone through the Shadows of the Empire kind of phase. The video game, the comic books, the toys, just the experience of going through Shadows of the Empire kind of opened my mind to the possibilities of doing something like that. And so we did a book for Blair Witch called The Dossier. We did comic books. We did 3 video games, so it was great that we had Shadows of the Empire that came before us that I personally took a lot of like kind of just, you know, ideas from.
Ed, Star Wars was and remains to this day a worldwide phenomenon. As someone who's actually experienced a phenomenon with Blair Witch, how important is the power of storytelling to you?
I mean, to me, you know, it's everything. Star Wars is, you know, obviously beautifully shot and, you know, the sets, and it was just revolutionary in every way. But the story was what kind of kept you coming back. And for me, it's just like with Blair Witch, something connected with people. I don't know if it was the woods, being lost in the woods, like the universal kind of fear of just being lost in the woods, you know, but it's somehow translated into a worldwide thing that's very rare, you know, because a lot of movies, you know, work in certain territories and they don't work in others, but it kind of taught me the importance of storytelling to the world. Without story, you have something shiny and you know, and you're gonna get a certain amount of attention, but for the repeat viewings, you gotta have a good story. You gotta have a solid story.
So you're sitting around talking to me about Star Wars, the impact Star Wars has on your fandom and your career, but from looking behind you, you're also one hell of a collector as well, aren't you?
It's a rare week where I don't buy some kind of Star Wars thing. And right now, my rule is that I don't buy anything I can't display. It's so therapeutic to me. It's definitely a hobby that's taken over my life.
Ed, after all these years, do you still take inspiration from Star Wars?
I use it all the time. When I do creature effects, you always go back to Star Wars. The Creature Cantina scene blew my mind like it blew everybody's minds. Even Yoda in Empire Strikes Back, you get these really deep feelings for a piece of, you know, plastic, basically. So when I did a movie called Altered, the creature, it was supposed to be like this alien creature. You have to use Star Wars as a reference. There's no other piece of property that has so many creatures and so many well-done creatures of all kinds. It's such beautiful and high-quality work. It inspires me so much, and I always use that energy on the stuff that I'm working on.
Well, you know what, Ed? I know you're really, really busy. I know you've got to get back on a set. Thank you for sitting down from your busy schedule doing this with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It really is an honor.